Good afternoon, dear organizers and participants of the conference National Medicine for Global Health. Let me present to you a work on topic Vladimir Petrovich Filatov'S contribution to the development of medicine, led by first-year students of the first group of the pediatric faculty of the Saratov State Medical University, Скобликова Елизавета and Балыцок Kсenia. Academician Vladimir Petrovich Filatov is a Soviet scientist, ophthalmologist, surgeon, inventor, poet, artist, memorist of Russian origin, full member of the Academy of Medical Sciences of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Vladimir Petrovich Filatov was born on the 15th of February in 1875 in the Russian village of Mikhailovka, Penza province, in the family of Zemstvo Dr. Pyotr Fedorovich Filatov. Perhaps the father working in the Zemstvo hospital awakened in his son a love of medicine. Vladimir's uncle headed the department of the Imperial Moscow University. It was on his advice that the former student of the gymnasium entered the medical faculty of the same university. In his student years, Vladimir, coming home for the holidays, worked under the guidance of his father in the Zemstvo hospital, helping him during outpatients' appointments and assisting their operations. And here, for the first time, a young student became closely acquainted with the suffering of patients losing their sight, and with the useful practical work of an ophthalmologist using the example of his father. At the same time, Vladimir Petrovich Filatov became interested in helping patients who lost their sight through a thorn. In 1903, at the invitation of Professor Sergei Ivanovich Golovin, Filatov moved to Odessa to work as an intern at a clinic at the Odessa University. In 1908, he defended his doctoral dissertation dedicated to his father on the topic The Doctrine of Cellular Venom in Ophthalmology. In 1909, a young doctor of medicine received a private docent course. Already as a professor, Vladimir Petrovich paid much attention to teaching eye diseases to students and practicing doctors. On the 28th of February in 1912, Vladimir Petrovich performed the first corneal transplantation using the method of complete penetrating keratoplasty, but the operation was unsuccessful. 2 years later, he had a similar operation with the same results. Many years were spent on continuous searches, reflections, doubts, and hard work. In 1913, the scientist proposed a new method for measuring intraocular pressure, elastotonometry. In 1914, Vladimir Petrovich invented and published in 1917 an effective method of plasty using a round stone, which turned out to be a valuable contribution to modern reconstructive surgery, which was worldwide recognized by surgeons and is known as Filatov's round stone. With the help of this stone, many people who were seriously injured during the First World War were relieved of suffering. At the same time, he wrote his first two scientific papers describing interesting cases of congenital eye anomalies. According to the People's Commissariat of Health, at the beginning of the 1920s, there were about 238,000 of blind people in the Soviet Union, half of whom were sick with a cataract. And developing bold ideas about corneal transplantation, Filatov enthusiastically presented them to his leaders, revealing to them the tempting prospects associated with his idea. In 1924, he developed a method of complete penetrating keratoplasty, for which he designed special medical instruments. The operation was successful. However, the problem of corneal transplantation was considered completely unpromising at that time, so the young doctor's bold idea did not find support in the scientific world. He continued to work in the clinic, carefully studying various forms of eye disease, developing and improving his operational technique. Subsequently, the professor introduced a new effective principle of treatments into medicine, tissue therapy, to which he devoted 20 years of his life. This method has found wide application in the treatment of not only eye diseases, but also a number of common diseases that were previously considered incurable. In the eye clinic of the Odessa University, Vladimir Filatov began his work on transplanting the cornea with leukomas. Here, for the first time in the world, on the 6th of May in 1931, he used the cornea of a cadaveric eye preserved at low temperature during a transplant operation, and thus solved the problem of material for keratoplasty. He developed a means of preserving the cornea in the humid chamber at a temperature of plus 4 degrees. Vladimir Petrovich improved the technique of partial penetrating keratoplasty, which improved access for ophthalmologists to perform. Keratoplasty has become an effective means of restoring vision to the blind with cataracts. The solution of the problem of the donor cornea laid the foundation for the widespread introduction of keratoplasty into practice and brought Vladimir Petrovich Filatov immense popularity. In 1933, a study was made of medicinal properties of tissues and biochemical stimulants at low temperatures, which were preserved. This became the basis for the researcher to create a new method of therapeutic medicine, tissue therapy. At that time, the surgeon operated on 96 blind eyes, on which 24 began to see after the operation. Having presented at the Congress living evidence of his method, among which were people who had from 1 to 5% of normal vision before the operation, and after from 70 to 100%, the scientist gains fame and recognition as a talented ophthalmologist and surgeon. For the development of the methods for transplanted the cornea and tissue therapy, in 1941, the scientist was awarded the Stalin Prize. Tissue therapy established itself as a valuable new branch of pharmacotherapy. Tissue therapy effectively helps in the fight against various eye diseases, in the fight against skin, internal nerves, and other diseases. Filatov's scientific activity was his constant and hard work throughout his life. Over the entire period of his life, the academician wrote about 460 scientific papers and monographs. In 1944, Filatov was elected as an academician of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics Academy of Medical Science. Filatov founded and was the head of the Research Experimental Institute of Eye Diseases and Tissue Therapy. He invented many original ophthalmic instruments, founded and edited the Ophthalmological Journal. On the 23rd of November in 1956, the academic council of the institute decided to perpetuate the memory of its first director. On the pediment of the institute building, a plaque was installed with the inscription, Research Institute of Eye Diseases and Tissue Therapy, named after academician Vladimir Petrovich Filatov. Vladimir Petrovich left an indelible mark in the history of world medicine. This is a man who is completely dedicated to his work. Even during his lifetime, he had a large number of followers in the person of famous scientists and doctors. Filatov helped so many people in the treatment of eye diseases and the return of lost vision to patients, for which he was seriously grateful to them. Thank you for your attention.